Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Escape the J Curve. This is your host Rohan Nag, and boy oh boy do we have a special episode today. Today we interview Vinit Agrawal, who is the co-founder and director and the chief technical officer at a startup called TARS. TARS is a chatbot for landing pages, which is known to increase conversion from anywhere between 50 to 200%. He is a very successful entrepreneur, and we talk about a lot of things that would help any young person who is looking to start a business. Lots of ideas, lots of value. So strap in, get ready. This is going to be a value-packed episode. Thanks for tuning in. Vineet.
Hey Rohan, what's up?
Hey Vineet. I wanted to wish you happy birthday once again. It was your birthday a couple of days back, right?
Yes, both. Couple of days back and couple of years back as well.
Yeah, so guys who are listening in, we have Vinit Agrawal on the show. He's a co-founder and director at TARS. I know him for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And he is one of the most successful entrepreneurs I know personally. And every time we catch up, we have these long discussions about entrepreneurship and other things. And I find that to be very fascinating and get a lot of value. So why don't we start up with, TARS itself? Tell us a bit about TARS and when did you start? Yeah.
Sure. So I gave you a bit, overview about what the company does. So,
yes,
so we are a completely SaaS-based software businesses. So basically, so people who don't know about SaaS stands for Software as a Service, and this has been a very popular segment, especially in India, but worldwide definitely. It started with Salesforce, but really the idea behind that, the whole business model is that you make a piece of software, which is a productized software. That means it will be the same thing for everybody to use. So when you think about Gmail, when you think about Google search, all of these are basically software products, right? So basically when it comes to SaaS businesses, you build a software product which you can sell to a lot of people at the same time, right? Basically without much customization, right? Basically you build it once and you basically market it and sell it to a lot of people. So when it comes to SaaS business, that's the core of it. So I'm running this SaaS business for about 4.5 years now, which is called TARS, and the software itself is it's a chatbot builder. Basically, it's a chatbot builder tool. Essentially, the product allows any business to make a chatbot for their business and put it on their website, and basically have a very automated conversation with the users that are visiting their website, or they can use it in their campaigns. There's a lot of use cases around that, but primarily we have been focusing on using chatbots as a lead generation mechanism. So basically when it comes to lead generation, especially for marketers, for digital marketers, the primary way they have been capturing leads is through putting up a landing page and putting a form on top of that, right?
Correct.
And that's the primary way basically people capture name, email, and phone number, those
leads.
Yeah. Leads, exactly, right? And once they get the lead, they sell it. They give it to the sales team, and sales team try to sell the product.
Correct.
Now the whole idea, basically, the marketer's life is all around generating these leads and basically having a really good conversion on those leads, right? Right now, the primary way of generating this is through these forms, and the problem with that approach is that nobody likes to fill out a form, right? Like around the industry average conversion rate is around 3%. That means out of 100 people who land on your landing page, who's basically you spend a lot of money and effort into bringing those traffic into your page. Basically, they come to your page. Out of 100 people, just 3 people actually leave their email address. Rest 97, 96 people they just drop off, right? So that's a huge loss.
Yeah.
So what we say is that instead of putting a form, you basically use a chatbot, which is much more interactive, much more engaging, and you can put out a lot of personality, your own brand personality, your own individual personality in that chatbot, and engage those visitors that are coming to your website. And once they come, once they come over to your website with those chatbot, you will be able to capture more leads. So in fact, according to our observation, you actually get at least 3 to 4 times more conversion rate. So that means around 10% or 12% conversion rate compared to a 3% conversion rate from earlier, right? So that is basically the value proposition of the product.
Wow. So let me break this down a little bit. So it takes certain amount of money to send traffic to your web page. And say that you're buying your traffic from Facebook and you're sending 100 people through Facebook ads to your page, and only 3 sign up for your email list, let's say. But with TARS, the signing up rate is 3 to 4 times that, which means about 12 to 15 people sign up. So your customer acquisition cost is reduced dramatically.
Yes, that's the idea. So that's your average customer acquisition cost will be reduced a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're using Google ads, Facebook ads, so basically if you generate traffic, you can either generate it organically or you can generate it through paid means, like you said, by Facebook ads or Google ads, right? So so customer per lead or acquisition cost per lead, basically that will go down dramatically.
Amazing. So I think you've always been an entrepreneur. I don't think you've worked for somebody else, right?
No, so I passed out of college in 2012, and for next 1 year, I worked in 2 different software companies actually. Back in that is in Chennai. So that was from 2012 mid to 2013 middle. So around 6 months I worked in one company, 6 months another company. But primarily while I was working there, I always had a couple of software ideas around some to build, but initially I worked for 1 year, and after working for 1 year I realized I think I don't need a lot of money to survive, and I have enough saving to just give it a shot. So basically I left my job in 2013 from Chennai. I came to Bangalore, and since 2013 mid, I've worked on 4 or 5 different products since then, and there's a product which I started working in end of 2015, and me and my co-founder have been working on this since then, right? So it has been from 2013 to 2015. During that 2 years period, I have actually built 3-4 different ideas, worked on 3-4 different products.
So what comes across in this when you say that you just worked for 1 year, I understand that you had a very clear direction that you wanted to go in. You didn't want to work for somebody else for long. So did you always value entrepreneurship, or is there a story behind it, or you just accidentally landed upon it? How did it happen?
So for me, when I was in college, I actually never liked the idea of business, or and at that time it was all connected to MBA, doing and having an MBA to do and all that, right? So to be honest, I always been very technical person. I always like engineering for the sake of it, just because I really like the topic, or really like learning about those things. So my favorite subject was physics back in school as well, right? So I always liked the technical aspect of it, and I always knew that I want to build something in the technology sector, or I want to understand it. I want to spend my time just learning these things, because makes it just very interesting to me, at least, right?
Right.
So, but over the time, so back when I was in college, I actually thought I will do some PhD or basically go for some higher studies as well. But after spending 5-6 years in college, I realized I cannot work with academic organizations as well. So eventually I realized that I want to spend some time learning these things. So the only way to do is to either build it by myself. So basically building an organization which is capable of funding itself, and then basically I can take it anywhere I want, right? Basically I have more control, I have more say in what I want to build or what I want to work on. So for me it's not so the idea is not around into entrepreneurship as such. It's for me it's mostly around building
things.
Building things, exactly. So I'm building things. Even the scope of building things has evolved for me a lot over the last several years. So initially when I was thinking, coming from a very nerdy or geeky kind of mindset, okay, I want to build the software and that's pretty much it. But after building, after making 3-4 different products and seeing that literally nobody is using it, just brings you to reality. Okay, what am I doing? Right? What's the point in making this if nobody's going to use it? Right?
Correct.
So at that point, I realized, okay, it's more important to. It's easier to build something which people want rather than building something and then make them want that thing. So basically, that is, I think, one of the biggest learnings for me in the journey, basically in the building a business, is that you start with what people want and you try to match it with what you like to do. Because that's also important because you have to spend a lot of time doing that same thing. And if you don't like what you do, it'll be very difficult for you to keep it sustainable for long term, right? So a good exercise I used to think is, if I get an idea, so back then I used to get a lot of ideas about, okay, let's build this product, let's build that product, right? Like most tech guys, they get a lot of ideas. So one thing I thought about always, one thing I realized is to filter down a lot of ideas into something which is actually valuable is, I used to think about, okay, this idea which I'm right now thinking, do I want to work on this idea for next 5 years of my life and do nothing else but work on this? Okay. Which is a really big way to, I think it's a really interesting way to think about, filter down, okay, which ideas are really good. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the relations, one of the learnings, that you have to start with what people want and then build towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is a very interesting segue to product market fit, because whenever I spoke with you about business, one thing that you brought up was product market fit. And I think you realized this after building your first 3 or 4 products that did not get traction. You need to figure out what the market really needs. So can you take us through the process? What changed after you build those products? And if somebody who wants to start up a new business has some ideas, how they can test it out? How can they find out if the market really needs it? And what was your process to build TARS after those 3 to 4 products that did not get traction?
Got it. I think that's really I think the very core kind of question. Okay, it's a very important question. Is to how do you validate or how do you evaluate whether the product or whether the idea that you are working on is valid or not, right?
Yes.
I think one thing that I've been very that I started working with, I realized is working, is basically just talk to customers. Or talk to your prospects, talk to your customers as soon as possible, as frequently as possible. That means if you get an idea about any product, if you get an idea about any service, instead of jumping into building something or just assuming this will work, just talk to or find people basically who are potentially going to buy that thing, and just talk to them and ask them, okay, we have this product, or what do you think about this kind of offering, right? And that's one.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just to figure this out, how do you? So you have an idea. You don't have anything else, just an idea. How do you figure out where your target customers are? Like Facebook groups or forums, or how do you reach out to these people that could be your potential customers?
So I'll tell you what we did, especially in our case. So back in 2015 October, around September, October, we were, so that's when I was working with my co-founder, and we were just working on this idea. So basically, I'll get few months back as well. I met my current co-founder back into April of 2015. Okay. And when we met, we actually worked on an idea called, which was again same name, TARS, but the idea was that it is supposed to be a a WhatsApp kind assistant kind of chatbot solution. So basically, if you remember something like there was a service called Magic in US. So back in 2015, the idea behind that, it was an SMS-based service where you can ask that service to anything you want. Like you can ask them to order a pizza, book a cab, or get print out like anything you want. Like a lot of Dunzo elements were also there back then, right?
Okay.
So that was a really big buzzword back in Silicon Valley, but back in like in the general mindset of people in startup world, right? So we actually when we started out, we actually had an idea about building a chatbot for a B2C domain, which B2C means business to consumer. That means end users are going to use this chatbot and they are going to get services out of it, right? But we didn't know which go after. Like, should we go after food industry or travel? Basically, in which consumer industry we should make this chatbot, which will basically respond to or answer all your questions for the consumer, right? Yep. So what we did is we just put out a WhatsApp number and we just made a landing page and we just said, okay, you can. This is a AI-based chatbot. It's a combination of AI and humans, although it was from mostly us on the back end. But basically, it was a chatbot on WhatsApp, and you can ask any questions, you can ask for any services, right? And we did this in May around, and we actually got around 15,000 people talking to us on one WhatsApp.
Wow.
During the space of around 3-4 months. So basically couple of publications actually picked us our page and all, and we got actually a lot of traffic. Actually, we actually exploded in one college in Andhra Pradesh or something. So there was a lot of conversation that we had, and the idea was that we'll analyze this conversation information and data, and then figure out which industry to go after. But after 3-4 months of doing that, and like really tiring work, because it's very difficult to just talk to people, and you will get a lot of random questions. It was not going nowhere. So we realized, even from the data, I analyzed the data, we analyzed the whole, what kind of people ask. There was no pattern coming out of it. Mostly people were asking for discounts and all those things, and we really didn't want to go to that domain.
So mostly.
Mostly it was all over the place, those questions, right? So I after 3 months I actually set it aside, and I knew we cannot work on this kind of thing. So we worked on another idea, which is what we are actually working on currently, which is the idea behind this fixing the UI problem on mobile web, especially. So basically, when we started out, the idea was forms are a really bad way to fill out a form of collect information. It's a very bad UX, especially when it comes to mobile devices. So when we realized, we cannot make a chatbot. So building a chatbot, technology itself is pretty difficult. So we realized that building a chatbot which can answer the user's questions can be very difficult. But what if we flip it the other way around? What if the chatbot asks the question and user only responds to it? Which is much more easier to make, because it doesn't require a lot of any kind of AI technology behind to build that thing.
Right.
So, but the value in that case would be just the interface, just the chat interface, because chat interface itself is a lot easier to use, especially because the WhatsApp everybody was using WhatsApp or Telegram, those kind of chat messaging applications, right? So the initial idea was that with this new interface, chat-like interface, it will be much more easier for end users to talk to the chatbot and or basically give their information, and therefore businesses who want to run campaigns, they'll be able to collect more information, their conversion rate will be higher. So that was the initial assumption, and with that but this time I didn't actually went. So usually when I get an idea, I basically start working on the solution right away, right? But this time I asked my co-founder to let's just connect with people. So that's coming to answer your question. We actually connected people on LinkedIn. We tried to basically reach out to people, and we basically pitched this idea. In fact, we said not an idea. We just said, we have this product. We just said, we already have this product. So do you want to see? Is something that interests you?
Yeah.
So one company in Mumbai called Time Savers. It was in a hyperlocal space. So hyperlocal is like urban club. Now they basically used to give the home services, cleaning services, those kind of things.
Yep.
So they responded back on LinkedIn and they said, show us a demo. So when they responded, then I think on the weekend, I just made a very quick, very basic version of the current product that we have, and we just gave a demo to them, and they liked it, and they said, okay, let's do a pilot. And for the pilot, we charged them around $100, just $100 per month.
Okay.
So we didn't know anything about pricing, how do you price the product, any of this. So we just priced it based on whatever tools that we have used or whatever tools we knew. Okay, how do they price? So we just gave $100 price tag per month, and they gave us their API. We connected to their system, and we made it live in a week. So that was I think the genesis. No, that's the origin point of the product, and actually started with the customer closure first.
Okay.
So it was like a moment of like clarity. This is how you should be building a product. You should start with the user, start with the customer, you sell to them, and then you actually go ahead and build it.
Awesome. So you have run TARS for about 5 years now, almost 5 years now.
Yeah, almost 4.5, 5 years.
So if you were to pick one of your biggest challenges during these 5 years to get TARS up and running, what would that be, and how did you manage to overcome that challenge? Financial, promotion, whatever it is, what you thought was the biggest hurdle to say?
I think one of the recent challenges I can say is when we are expanding the team, like we are getting more people, and I think that's particularly challenging a bit for me, because it's the first time I'm hiring people properly and building a team basically, right? So I've been actually doing this for 1 year now. So now I've gotten used to a bit. But initially, when we were going from, so for the largest part of the company history, like around 3 years, it has been just me and my co-founders, 2 of us, right? But only when we actually started hiring, we started expanding quite late, when we got some consistent revenue and all, right?
Yep.
So that has been I think one of a challenge I can say. Other than that, if you ask in the early period, I would say over the course of my time, like after job, the first challenge was the first hurdle that was a mindset change, which was around going from building part or building aspect or building technology to building technology which people will actually buy. So basically, the same thing that I mentioned earlier is
correct
around just thinking from the point of view, okay, not just because you think the technology is cool, even you will not find it cool after a few months, because nobody is going to use it, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you have to basically keep building things which people find useful, because if you keep people interested, or if you make something which is useful for people, that's a really good hack, really good way to keep yourself motivated to keep building that thing, because otherwise you will also get eventually on down,
lose interest.
Yeah. Right. So if you are really interested into building a technology or building something very breakthrough or something like that, you have to basically align. I mean, there's another way I look at it is you have to align your work with business incentive for yourself. If your business incentive is aligned, then you will be motivated enough to keep going and keep building that.
So correct, so true. So would you have any advice for someone who has a product in mind? They have done a product market fit test. They know there's a demand for it, and they want to launch it, and they want to promote. So they have built a prototype and they want to get some traction. So in terms of internet marketing or getting your digital distribution in place, any marketing tips that would help them get started, which would get them the best ROI, apart from using TARS, of course?
Okay, sure. So I'll tell you,
what helped your business grow, if you can start with that?
Sure. I can talk about SaaS businesses only, right? Because I have no idea about retail or any other industry. I've mostly worked in SaaS, right? So from the context of that, I can see there's a lot of there is a whole set of material which is around traction wheel, which has around 19 channels, which basically talks about different ways of distributing your SaaS product. So there are ads, there is guest posting, SEO, LinkedIn. There's a lot of different channels. I think there are some 17. I think it's called traction wheel or something model.
Yeah.
So that's they have a lot of potential channels. What you want to do, especially in the early stages, you want to go through it and you want to pick one or two channels that is going to be a core channel, where you are going to spend a lot of time and focus on building that thing. So for example, for us, we have been very consistent from the beginning about creating content for our product, right? From the very beginning, my co-founder he's a great marketer. He has spent a lot of effort into building the initial set of content. I have spent a lot of time building help docs, building videos. There's a lot of things that we did initially, which has paid off like over the years. Like, especially for us, like which is a chatbot space, which is very new at the time when we started it. There were not a lot of players. There's still I would say not a lot of players out there. So right now, for example, one thing that we have done is we have created something called chatbot templates on our website. Chatbot template is like if you are a business in, let's say, insurance space and you want to build a lead generation for, let's say, health insurance or something like that, right? So we have a chatbot template on our website just for that specific use case and that specific industry.
Okay.
So we have we actually curated around 13 different industries and 17 different use cases, and we have built around 1,000 chatbot templates on the website. So that means we have 1,000 pages which is specific to each industry in each use case. So if you search for doctor's appointment chatbot template, you will see our results at the top of the Google search.
Okay.
So that 1,000 pages has given us a lot of SEO boost. So basically focusing on your core skill. So for example, in our case, we build this technology which is around having the capability to build chatbots very rapidly and very effectively. So we actually use that as an advantage to us, and we actually built these 1,000 chatbot pages kind of thing, right? Which is actually has become the greatest, the biggest channel for us in terms of leads. So I mean, if you want, for someone who is just beginning, I would say read a bit about what all things are there, because if you just pick something, if you just pick some channel, you are just it's just about just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
So if you want to save some time around which channel will work for you, I would say read a bit about what all marketing channels exist, because a lot of people I think won't be familiar with, especially you're starting or might not be familiar with traction wheel and all those kind of models, and understand what is the advantage of each of those channels for different products. So if you are a product who is marketing to SMBs in US, or that will be a very different channel for you. Might be LinkedIn might work for you, might not work for you, depending on your product as well, domain as well. So for if you're an enterprise, LinkedIn might work for you. So LinkedIn is a good channel if you are enterprise customer, if you have enterprise prospects, if you have different geos. So again, I think LinkedIn at this point has become quite popular. I think everybody is on LinkedIn at this point. But if you talk about other channels like Google ads, Facebook ads, so if you're targeting to consumers, maybe Facebook ads will work for you. But if you're targeting businesses, Google ads might make more sense, right?
Correct.
So those kind of things will be there. So if you read a bit about what are the different properties of different channels, then you can see, okay, what are the properties of your product, and then you try to match, okay, which channel will work for you.
Great. So basically what he's saying, that to summarize, content marketing worked the best for you through content
for
marketing.
us. Yes.
Yeah. So there's another example of that. Do you know about ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson?
Yeah.
So that dude is amazing in marketing, as we all know. So he has his own blog, his podcast, and other things where he publishes a lot of content. He has written books. And what he does is, he doesn't sell ClickFunnels directly. What he does is, he sells one of his digital assets, for example, one of his books. So that sort of liquidates his customer acquisition cost. So for example, if his customer acquisition cost is $12, he sells the book for $12. That sort of liquidates his ad costs. And what he does is, he uses email marketing to sell on the back end. to train people on ClickFunnels initially, and then sell a subscription, which is about $99 a month on the lower end, and hundreds of dollars on the higher end. So yeah, content marketing, I think it's a very good strategy for a software as a service business to get started, acquiring customers for less cost compared to other big companies.
Yes, content marketing is also a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So if you start writing it today, don't expect any result in 6 months.
Yep.
So, I basically we mentioned what we did.
Yeah.
So even for us in the initial phase, we also did a lot of email outbound as well, and we did also reach out to people on LinkedIn as well. I think back then we didn't use LinkedIn as much as we use now.
Right.
But if you are starting out, you definitely want to. You basically need to have people in short term. You need to sell it in the short term as well. So there's always going to be that one-on-one hustle every day. You have to actually talk to or reach out to 5-10 people and basically pitch them something, right? So that is definitely is going to be there in the early stages. But for content is more like a more long-term stuff. But if you can, if your domain is new, it's definitely worth investing because that will turn into a better brand name and all those things. That will give you a really good consistent lead channel over the time.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So say that if you wanted to give a mindset related advice, people who want to be entrepreneurs but they don't get started or they're stuck somewhere, and you see this on a regular basis, right? Like people around you, your friends, your colleagues, or whoever it is, maybe distant relatives, they talk big game about starting entrepreneurship, but they don't actually do anything. So what is that one key mindset thing that helped you approach your like entrepreneurial problem solving compared to other people who don't understand or see entrepreneurship in this way? Is there anything that you would want to tell people who want to start out but they don't quite understand yet?
Sure. I think one thing is this whole thing about entrepreneurship. This thing, don't take it as like it's a really huge risk. Yeah. And see, when I remember very clearly when I left the job, I was just talking to some friends. I was just talking to them, and I was just realizing that they're talking about is it a really risky thing to do, or is it how much stable it is, right? So I was thinking that it's not that risky. I mean, at max, what will happen if you leave your job? I mean, I took a drastic measure of actually leaving the job and then doing anything, then starting anything, right? Yeah. But I think for a lot of people today, especially now that they're spending a lot of time at home, they can actually start doing something on the side, spending some time apart from the work hours, and doing something small, something. Something don't think it as like a really huge thing or big thing, because that'll just make you even more procrastinate, even more. Okay, I have to do this whole thing, right? So start very small and try to do something which is fun for you, and which is also you can see there's a value for other people to buy as well, right? So if you can find something, and there must be something there's a lot of things. For example, like people right now are making YouTube videos and they're making good money out of it, right? Yeah. They're doing I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and this guy basically he made one video around how he manages his YouTube business. Basically what he does is he actually makes a educational kind of video, explaining about something interesting stuff. Okay. So he's just making content, and he's learning about these things. Like he makes video about space exploration and technologies, all those things. So he actually learns about these things, as well as he presents it. He makes a good YouTube video out of it, and he makes money out of it as well, right? Yeah. So that's really good. Like you are doing something which you're enjoying, as well as you are making money out of it. Yeah. Right. And it's a lot of work as well. It's not like it's easy, because you have to learn it, you have to present, you have to make really good quality content, right? So that's a lot of work as well, and that's your product. So there must be something which you enjoy doing, and you just have to work on it and keep refining it so that it gets to a quality where people are ready to pay for it, right? So one mindset change difference I would say is is to just start small, something which is affordable for you to lose. Basically, just putting half an hour, 1 hour every day into something, and just to do something which you like to do, which you like enjoy doing, basically.
Absolutely. So now we come to the deep questions. Vineet, if you are no longer there after you have passed away, how would you want people to remember you?
I don't know. Never thought about it. No, I don't think. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think I want people to remember me. I don't know.
Okay.
Why would I?
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any book recommendation that has helped shape your worldview, or learn more about entrepreneurship, or learn more about human psychology, which really helped you? Some books.
Let me see. I have a bunch of books. I read a book called Deep Work.
Cal Newport, right?
Yes. That was really good. I read a book, Atomic Habits. I mean, I've read a book. I've not been able to implement a lot of these things. One book I really like is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Like, this book is, this book's really good. Like, basically, this guy talks about fighting procrastination, essentially. How do you, a lot of things that you want to do, and you have projects, you have things that mind, okay, I want to learn this, I want to do that, but you don't ever start doing it. You just get stuck, or even if you start to it, like, you keep on getting stuck every single day. Every day is a struggle. To keep doing things, right? So basically, in this book, he basically relates that any work that you are doing is basically a piece of art. Basically it's some kind of creative work. Basically, you are solving some problem. That's why you are stuck. And that creative problem is basically, if you solve it, then basically you'll have a artwork at the end of it, right? So basically, he's just taking that analogy. So basically, talks about, okay, what goes into the person's mind, and how this thing called resistance comes to you, which is he basically personifies that procrastination thing in the book, where this resistance is like always stopping you from doing things that you want to do, right? So that's, I think that book is really good in terms of just overcoming your own resistance, procrastination, and just focusing on the things that you want to do.
Right. So I think we have come to the end of the interview. I think it was a fantastic interview. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Vinit. And if people want to get in touch with you, how can they find you online? What's the best way to reach out to you?
You can reach me on my email. It's Vineet at HelloTask. So my company name is TAS. Website is hellotask.com, HELLOTARS. And my name is Vinit, Vineet at HelloTask. You can reach me on email. I also have a Twitter. It's volume 88, which is an old Twitter handle that I have.
Okay, I'll link all of those in the description of this episode, and people can reach out to you. So thank you so much, Vinit. It was a great interview. Probably we can have you in a future episode as well. Very informative.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, man. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Listen, thanks so much for listening to the episode. I really appreciate it. Now, if you think you have got any value out of this episode, please make sure to engage with the content. My podcast is available on all of the platforms like Spotify, like Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and it's also even available on YouTube. So if you got some value out of this content, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, or please download and share it with someone who would get value out of this. That's all I ask. Thank you so much.